I would like to thank the President of Macedonia for his contribution and well wishes, the President of the Dominican Republic. Our friendship started at the very first day of the establishment of Israel, and we shall never forget it. I want to thank the Minister of Culture of China and the greetings of the President of the Republic of China for your contribution and for your wishes. And last but not least, I want to thank Dennis Ross. He doesn't need any introduction, any further comments, not only for his wise words, but also for the wishes of President Obama to Israel. Dennis, I liked one remark he made, and that is that we shouldn't speak in terms of deficit just in the domain of finance. There are many deficits, and I'm not sure that the financial deficit is the worst. There are other deficits which are as demanding as the financial one. You know, I was a member of a kibbutz. I started there, was the secretary of the kibbutz, and one day I got the bad news that one of our members, a lady, decided to quit the kibbutz. It was my task to try and convince her to remain a member of the kibbutz. I called her in, I says, my lady, there is no better place in life than a kibbutz. It's wonderful. It's collectively free. You don't have any worries. You don't have money. You don't need money. And you yourself, you did such a wonderful job in our building the kibbutz. She wasn't impressed, I think. Then I used my last argument. I told her, tell me, you're going to Tel Aviv. How are you going to make a living? She thought for a while. He says, oh, very simply, I shall live on a deficit. That was my first encounter with a deficit. Now, I really believe that the financial deficit, and when we say deficit, we are referring to the financial or economic deficit, is the most important one. I speak out of the experience of Israel. You know, there is a shortage of food, there is a shortage of water, a deficit of food, a deficit of water in the Middle East. Israel is lucky enough not to have land and not to have water, and yet not have a deficit of food. Our agriculture is not based on the size of the land or the nature of the land. Our piece of land is very small. The nature of the land is the nature of a desert. When it comes to water, there's not a great story that we can tell. We have a single river, the Jordan River, which provides more fame than water. You heard about it a great deal. When you go to see it, there's nothing much to see. We have two lakes. One is dead, the other is dying. And yet, we export food. Unbelievable. We produce the first food, the first agriculture, which is neither based on water or land, but on high-tech, really. You know, we have fonts of fish almost without water. They produce the exact weight of a fish which fits the demand in a Paris restaurant. So we export carrots to Russia. We export avocado to Paris. We export flowers to London. And today, to be a farmer in Israel is quite a good job. So you can have food if you don't have a deficit in science and technology. Now today, the deficit is of a double edge. Each of us has two passports, a national passport and a global passport. A nation cannot exist today without referring to the global part of our life. On the other hand, you cannot have globality without having a national identity, because then they are short of destiny and short of vision. You know, there is no longer, in real terms, a national economy. There is a global economy that every nation has to try and participate in it. But may I say it's the truth, it's the same goes for politics. You cannot have today a national policy without referring to the global political situation, to the public opinion, to the relations. And I'm not saying it about other people, I'm saying it also about Israel. Israel cannot be alone. We cannot be just national. We have to be part of a new age. And this age is both global and scientific. I'm making it because there was part of the discussion about the Arab Spring. I'm not sure that I would define it as an Arab Spring. I would rather say there is a spring in the world that the Arabs are beginning to join in. You know, when springs come, you cannot come with a heavy coat to participate in the joy of the spring. You have to take off your coat. And for that reason, I believe that what the Arabs are doing, what the Middle East is doing, is really trying to overcome the deficit of the new age, of the new globality. You know, people think that in order to have high tech, you can buy a computer, an iPhone, other instruments, and go in high tech. It's nonsense. You can buy the best computer. You can buy the best smart telephone. You won't have high tech. Because high tech is not a technology. High tech is a civilization as well. For example, if you'll buy the best computer, but half of your people will be discriminated, the women, you won't have high tech. Because high tech calls for the full participation of men and women. High tech calls to have your children educated. And if the mother doesn't have a chance to be educated, she won't educate her children. And in my judgment, a deficit in equality of women is even more telling and demanding than a deficit in financial terms. You know, President Obama asked me, who is the greatest opponent to democracy in the Middle East? I told him the husbands. If you discriminate your wife, then you are being discriminated by the great husband, by the dictator. You cannot have high tech without openness, without transparency, without goodwill, without good relations. If I can say it in a light way, Bob Hope is a known American humorist, said once, I can't understand why do the British drive on the left hand? So I decided to go to London and try to understand. He says, I tried to drive on the right hand, I immediately understood. You cannot really drive against the stream. And it is not that the global economy takes away anything from your tradition, from your positive tradition, anything from your heritage. There is no contradiction between religion and science. And you know what? Between the basic assumptions of the three great monetary religions, that you have to respect the man, the equality, you have to be a believer. And for that reason, I thought all my life, at least for the last 2-3 decades, that there will be a new Middle East, because the Middle East cannot remain old in a new world. And what wasn't done by previous generation is now being introduced by the young people of the Arabs. What happened to them, it's not a difference in age, it's a different insight. With the new instruments, you can see better, higher, deeper. That is the meaning of the new communication. It gives you a long sight concept of what is happening. Not only that, it enables you to compare yourself with other people. Dictators ask for one thing from all citizens: to remain blind. The new age calls for our people to open eyes. We are an age that open its eyes and nobody will close it again. Because the young boys and girls all over the places, in the Arab world, as well in other countries, can compare their lot with the lot of other young people. They say, why there? They live in freedom, in growth, in prosperity, in openness, without corruption. You can corrupt only when you are being blind or being corrupted. And I think this will not stop. Even if they change the government, changing the government doesn't mean anything unless you change the system. China was once a very poor country, very divided, with a great deal of corruption. China wasn't saved by financing. China was saved by giving the people a destiny and a call for union and hard work. So I would tell ourselves Israel in many ways is having already the two dimensions of modern life, namely a national identity and a global competition. Israel must be very careful not to ignore the call of globality when it comes to our own politics, as our neighbors should not ignore the call of globality when it comes to peace, to prosperity, to freedom. I think this is the main message, listening to all of you. From Harmony, as our very good friend, the Minister of Culture of China, to the concept of how the economy functions in Latin America in a way, and the call of Dennis. Let's go together. Let's have more hope, more trust, more patience. This is, in my judgment, the major lesson that we have heard today. Thank you very much.